What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for Power Book 2 Season 2 Episode 3. And the episode was titled, let's see, what was it episode title? The Greater Good, you guys. So, before we get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other on the channel and are not yet subscribed to the channel, then I'm gonna need you guys to do me a big, huge favor and stop taking me out on this date and have me pay for it at the end of it. Do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, turn the notifications on, hit all, share the video, like the video, leave your comments, and with that out the way, you guys, without further ado, let us go ahead and discuss Power Book 3, shall we? Let's start up with Tariq. So we see Tariq. So Tariq went to the Intercontinental Hotel, right? So at that hotel, we see Tate and his brother, right? So Tate's brother has gotten a promotion, and one of the cops was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Tate's nephew." He's like, "You're Tate's nephew?" He was like, "Yeah." So Tate comes down there and talks to him. So Tariq is talking to Tate because Tariq needs some help at, getting to CPS to, be able to see Yaz, right? So Tate was like, "Well, this quid pro quo right here, I'm gonna need a little quid before I give you the pro, right?" So he says, since you know someone who knows Rick Sweeney, I need you to get as much information on Rick Sweeney that you can. And Tariq's like, "Okay, I got you," right? He says, "But first I need you to help me." He's like, "Okay, I got you, but you're gonna have to return it on. You're gonna have to, give a little bit back, and give a little bit more than what I'm giving you." So then we see Tariq. So Tariq is meeting with Child Protective Services, right? So the woman is talking to Tariq, and she's like, Yaz is in a good home, and then Yaz is gonna be there until this trial with Big Mama. And Tariq is like, Big Mama is not in a stable place right now, which she's not. But I mean, we, again, like I said last week, we got to think about all that Big Mama has been through. So Tariq asked the caseworker if he get an apartment, can Yaz come stay with him? She's like, "You get an apartment?" He was like, "Yeah." She says, "You can get an apartment, but you also need some other things along with that, right? You need a job, you need proof of income, and you need to have a clean record, no arrests, no drugs, no nothing on your record." He says, "Okay, I got that." So then later in the episode, we saw Tariq and Brayden, right? So Tariq and Brayden, they met up with Kane to get the product that, they're going to be selling. So Kane tells them if they fuck up, he will take all that product that they got and put it back in the streets, right? So meanwhile, they're being watched by Mecca. And, we see Tariq and Brayden. So Brayden, you guys remember in last week's episode when Lauren took Tariq to her special place that her brother had found, Brayden took him there, and what has happened is he's configured it so that way when people go up to it to get their, their products, they'll scan a QR code, it'll open, they'll take the product, leave the money, and then Tariq and Brayden have the main QR, so they're the only ones who can really get in there and get the money out of it, get anything out, right? They're the only ones who can get the money out and who can put the product in there, right? So then we see Tariq later in this episode. He after the meeting that he had with the CPS lady, he went and talked to Tate again, right? So he's he's saying to Tate that he needs more help with Yaz, right? He needs to be able to see Yaz. So Tate tells him like, "Okay, I'll help you out," but he needs as much dirt on Rick Sweeney as he can get. And Tariq is like, "Okay, ain't no problem. I got you. I got you. I got you. I got you." So we're gonna pause here, you guys, and we're gonna move forward, you guys. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to kind of put Kevin and Carrie together, right? Since he's kind of he's important to her storyline, so to speak, right? So we see Kevin, right? So Kevin has his his wall set up, his wall set up, right? Of Jabari's murder. He has the pictures of Jabari's dead body, and he has his suspects. So you see Ramirez, you see Carrie, and you see Zeke, right? So you guys remember in the last episode, he picked Zeke up from his dorm room, and Zeke is in an interrogation room. So we also see that Zeke's phone is ringing off the hook, and it's Carrie blowing his phone up, right? So then we see Kevin. So Kevin went in to talk to Zeke, and he's asking him if he knew Jabari, and Zeke was like, "No, I did not know, Professor Reynolds. He said he wasn't my advisor." So Kevin was like, "Well, who is your advisor?" He says, Carrie. He said Carrie Dad Milgram. So then, he asked him, what is the nature of your relationship with Carrie? And Zeke said that there is no relationship between him, right? So then we see the progression of the episode. He kept talking to Zeke, right? He was trying to, the whole thing in this episode was he was trying to get from Zeke what is the nature of his relationship with Carrie, right? But Zeke is not giving him anything, and more so, Carrie keeps calling his phone. So he's asking him if he knew about the relationship between Carrie and, Jabari. He said he knew about it, right? And you guys remember that Jabari was jealous about Carrie having a relationship with Zeke, not knowing it was Zeke, thinking it was Tariq that she was having a relationship, right? A relationship with, right? So he is thinking that Zeke and Carrie knew that Jabari figured that they were having a relationship with each other. And so Kevin is trying to say that maybe Carrie put Zeke up to killing Jabari, which we know that that's not true, right? So then we see Carrie, she's in class, and it's her and Tate. So the lesson of this week is, actually she was about to, tell the class what the lesson was, but Tate stepped in, right? And Tate steps in, takes over asking, is there an objective greater good? So we had the debate between the class, right, about the greater good. So then after class, we see Lauren. So Lauren is talking to Tariq. She's apologizing to Tariq for bolting on him. And then his phone starts ringing off the hook, right? And she was like, you know what, Tariq, forget it, right? So it's a call from Bash. And Bash is, remember, I just told you a few minutes ago that Tariq, when he went to CPS, that he needed to have he needs to have a job, right? So he's telling Bash that he needs a legit business, a legit paycheck, and Bash says, okay, well, I got you, right? I need $30,000, and I need you to have a president of the company, right? So then we later see Tate, right? So Tate went to Carrie's office. He's asking Carrie, like, what's the Wi-Fi password? She was like, it's on your door. So then Tate is trying to, I think Tate was trying to, butter Carrie up, trying to get her to go out with him. But then Kevin comes in, right? And Kevin's like, can I speak to her alone? So Tate left out of the office, but Tate was still eavesdropping, right? So this is when Kevin was telling, her that, that alibi that you gave me last week, your alibi is starting to crumble because Zeke is saying that you guys don't have any relationship with each other and that he wasn't at your apartment the night that Jabari was killed, right? He says, but it's not adding up, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that you and Zeke are in handcuffs, right? So let's talk about the young lady who recorded when, Kevin came to Zeke's room, right? So we see her and she's talking to Lauren and she's talking to Bruchandria, right, about this situation. And Lauren has a little bit of a stick up. It's like, you slept with him and got a story from him because she's selling it to someone, right? And Bruchandria's like, girl, just because you mad about what's going on between you and Tariq, you might want to calm down. Like, girl, smoke the blunt. And Lauren's like, no, I can't do that. So Lauren left out, right? And the young lady's name is Sierra. So we then see Zeke, and he's still, he's still in the interrogation room with Kevin, right? So at this point, Zeke was like, take out my PBA card. I was like, what the hell is a PBA card? So he takes out the PBA card, and the PBA card belongs to Ramirez. And I was like, oh shit, that ain't good. So then Kevin starts asking him, where did you get this, right? So then we see Monet. So Monet comes down to the precinct, right? And Monet is in her, she pissed off and everything, right? So she's going off on everybody. Now, I do have to point this out. So it's going a little out of order, but Tariq got a Tariq got a message on his phone about this. So he called Davis to go down and go down there, right? So we see Monet at the precinct, and we see, Davis there, right? So they're both gonna clean it up. So then after Monet picked up Zeke, she was like, what the hell was that? Is this because of that Carrie bitch? And he was like, yeah. So he says, I gave Ramirez my PBA. I gave them the PBA card. She's like, you did what? She's like, why would you do that? But then he got upset with her because he's like, you don't tell me anything, which that is true. Now Monet can't be mad at nobody but Monet because as much as I like Monet, yeah, and this ain't good. This is not good whatsoever. So we're gonna move on, you guys, and we're gonna talk about, the rest of the episode. So we see Monet earlier in the episode. So she's in the car and she's looking at the card that Mecca gave to her. So then Kane pulls up on the side of her and they're waiting for Tariq, and Tariq is late, right? So Tariq shows up and Tariq was like, you dealing with him again? She was like, yeah. She's like, he got the new, he's back in and he got us a new connect. Now, whatever issues y'all two got with each other, y'all need to squash that shit. And you, Kane, stop fucking with him. Don't fuck with him. Leave him alone. So we all good, right? So then Monet leaves, and when Monet left, Kane asked, he's like, so did you frame that teacher bitch? And Tariq says, no, I didn't have to. We all good, right? So then we see Kane. So Kane is at this party that Mecca is throwing, right? And it was so odd. They had this pig, and this dude was blindfolded with a knife in his hand, and he's trying to, move around like this. He's like, help me out, Mecca. So Mecca says, go to your left or whatever, and he goes, and he slices down, right? He says, party favors for everyone. So then after that, we are introduced to the guy. His name is Nuff. So he introduces Kane to Nuff, right? So then, Nuff is sitting there talking with his mouth full, and the chef was like, stop talking with your mouth full. Hey, ladies, it's his birthday today. So two ladies come over there. They get, Mecca, and they get Kane. They start going and give him lap dances. Kane is asking the question of like, why is Mecca not here with us? And he was like, yeah, Mecca ain't been right since we came back from New York, and he got that New York bitch on his mind. Why he say that? Because Mecca came up, grabbed homie by his neck, and was choking him out. And he was like, yeah, you're supposed to keep family business to the family. And he put him to sleep. He says he'll be back. He'll wake up in a little bit. So he tells the girls, go with Kanan, right? Go with Kane. So then the next morning, Kane wakes up, right? And, he goes to find Mecca, who's working out, right? So then, he says, Mecca asked him if his family can move the product. He says, yeah, they can. So he says, well, Lil Guap had told me that Monet took your shit off the street. So if she did that, how you gonna move my shit, right? So then he was like, yeah, she wanted it to be kind of clean and, and not in the streets. So she got this little, this little Steve Urkel looking motherfucker that she's working with up there at Stansfield, right? And he's talking about Tariq. So he's like, do you think, so he's asking him about trusting Tariq, right? And we all know Kane doesn't trust Tariq because Kane is jealous of Tariq, right? So Mecca wants to know who the kid is, right? He won't tell him. He says, well, if you can't tell me, then I can't be in business with somebody that doesn't trust me. So Kane tells him his name is Tariq St. Patrick, right? So I've already talked about the fact that Mecca was watching them, right? Because Mecca told him he could help him out getting Tariq under control. So after he watched Kane and Tariq and Braden, he told Kane that Braden is his way of controlling him, right? He told him that he needs to get Braden in his pockets, right? So then we move over and we see Diana. So Diana is talking to Monet, and she's asking Monet if Lorenzo knows about this situation about her bringing back in Kane. Now, Monet, why you in your feelings so bad? I mean, the way Monet was talking to Diana, I'm like, damn, go talk to your dad if you want to. I'm like, she says, and I will. So then we do see Diana. So Diana went to go talk to Lorenzo, right? So Diana is asking Lorenzo, like, hey, Kane is back in now. Mind you, they were speaking in Spanish, so I had to read the subtitles. She says, so Kane is back in. Did you know about this? He says, yes, he okayed this, right? Like, Kane is family, and you're only as strong, basically you're only as strong as your weakest link, and you got to bring him back in. Like, he's family at the end of the day. So then we do see Monet, and we see her, she's meeting up with Dante, aka Mecca. So we find out a little bit more about we didn't find out more. We just found out that it's been 24 years since I guess they've had any kind of communication or interaction with one another. And Monet is just wondering at this point, why now? Which is a good question. And that is a good question, right? It's a really good question. Why now, right? Here's another good question. It's been 24 years. I have a question. How old is Kane? I wonder how old is Kane? because the wheels are starting to turn in my head, right, you guys? Because I've wondered since season 1 if Cain was Lorenzo's son, right? I'm starting to wonder if maybe Cain is Mecca's son, right? Think about it. Just think about it. I'm starting to think about these things. How old is Cain? Because we know how old. I mean, we know Diana and Drew. Diana and Drew are in their at least in their teens, right? They gotta be. Because I think because Tariq is 19, right? So I feel like Diana is somewhere close to Tariq, and I feel like Drew might be a little bit older than Tariq, so Drew might be about 21, and I feel like Cain is somewhere in. So I'm starting to have some questions for Ms. Monet. Starting to have some questions because I'm also wondering why is Mecca, dealing with Cain, right? And why is he not telling Cain that he knows who Monet is, right? These are some questions that we eventually will get into. I know we will, right? So then we see Diana. So Diana met Tariq at the spot, right? And he thought that, Diana was meeting him about the money that Monet had footed because when she met up with Cain, she paid him for the drugs and she told Tariq run her money back, right? But Tariq don't have it. And Diana's like, that's not why I'm here. She says, I want to meet with the lawyer that worked with your mom, right? She said, I called his office, but his assistant told me that I needed to have a reference. So I need you, right? So he says, I got you. So then he gets a phone call from Tate about, this meeting with CPS. And then Lauren shows up as Diana is leaving, and she's like, ain't this about a bitch, right? So she goes up up there with Tariq, and she's like, so you brought her here? He says, it ain't even like that. Like, I got a lot of shit going on in my life, right? So then, his phone rings again. He gets a text message. He's like, come with me. So then we see them as they go and visit Yaz, right? So he takes a bear to Yaz, and he needs a distraction. So Lauren distracts the CPS worker, right? And he tells her, hey, there's a phone in here. Don't let them catch you with this phone, but call me whenever. So then we see Cain, right? Now you guys remember, I told you that Cain was told by Mecca to basically work on Brayden and get him on his side, right? So that way he can control Tariq. So that is what he's doing, right? So he's talking to, Brayden, because Brayden is showing the money, but I think Brayden only had about $8,000, and you guys know Tariq needs $30K, right? So that he can have this business. So, Cain is like, well, how about you give me the money and, how about you give me the stuff and I'll sell it on the streets? You guys know Brayden wants to be on the streets, whereas Tariq doesn't, right? And that's what Cain is using against him. Like, come on the streets with me, sell this shit, right? And he was like, nah, Tariq, he ain't like, oh, he's like, oh, so you gotta do what boss says. And Brayden was like, he ain't my boss, like, we're partners, we're 50-50 in this. But Cain is using this to his advantage, is really what he's doing, right? So then, but now they're in the car. They didn't get to go anywhere because Cain got a 911 text from Monet at that point, right? So he's got to go and see what Monet wants. But he tells him like, hey, you leave me the money, you leave me the drugs, I'll sell this shit. I'll meet you tomorrow about 11 a.m. and you tell me where to meet you and I got you. So then he does that, right? So then we see after, Monet went in on them, right? Because when she got the phone call about Zeke, she was on a date with Mecca. And her, they were on a helicopter. And then when she got off the helicopter, that's when she checked her phone to see that Zeke had left her a message about being in the precinct, right? So she's upset. And then when she leaves, that's when Diana and Drew tell him that she never got Ramirez's PBA card back after Cain had killed him, right? Unlived him. So Diana was like, she was here when she got the phone call, and Drew was like, no, she wasn't. So they're like, where was she? Y'all don't want to know where Mommy Dearest was. So we see Cain. So Cain, he went over to Tariq's place. Punched Tariq in the face. So Cain is upset with Tariq because of this whole situation with the PBA card. He said, so you didn't frame Carrie because you trying to plan it on her and Zeke. That's not even what Tariq was doing. Tariq knew nothing, and Tariq said it. I know nothing that Zeke even had a relationship with her, so how would I do that? Now my thing with Cain is, you upset about this with Tariq, but all of this stuff that's going on, it's kind of a trickle down from shit that you've done, right? The only thing that is not on you is the fact that Jabari thought that Tariq was sleeping with Carrie. That's the only thing that's not on you. But everything else falls on you. The GTG boy that got killed at Stansfield, that's on you. Like, everything is on you. So I don't understand why Kane is so upset, right? So then we see Diana. So Diana went to go see Sachs, and she's seeing Davis, right? She's trying to get them to take on Lorenzo's case because Lorenzo thinks that the attorneys that have been on his appeal case, they haven't really been working in his best favor, right? And they're like, that's what they typically say, right? So they tell her that there's nothing that they can do to get Lorenzo out, right? And, Davis was like, why would you say that? That's money walking out the door, and that could be a repeat client, right? So Saxon's whole thing is, even if we get him out, he's gonna go back and do the same shit he did. And if we don't get him out, he gonna be pissed off at us and gonna come after us. So then we do see Sax, right? So Sax is, having sex with Jenny, and they're talking about Lorenzo's case, right? And, she tells him who the prosecutor was on his case. And we find out that the prosecutor that was on the case also was a prosecutor who was basically skimming away drugs from the people that he was taking the drugs from, right? So then Sachs takes Davis to tell Davis, like, hey, we can get Lorenzo out. We can get Lorenzo out of jail. So they're going to use that as their defense. Let's see. I think that's it. If I missed anything, you guys can leave it in the comments section below. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Please leave your comments in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified of when I drop anything else. Share the video, and until the next one, you guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.